welcome back to my channel. Welcome to day 8 of Veda. What? Oh, and Jelly Bean is here. If you don't know what Veda is, I will link the playlist up here. Go check out the previous videos and come back and see me. I am feeling pretty good today because last night I found out that I passed my boards! Woo-hoo! I am a certified teacher. I still have one more semester of school, but it is such a relief to not have to worry about that anymore. So, I have been watching a lot of booktubers coming out with their best books of 2021 so far, and one thing that I noticed that I really enjoyed watching was that a lot of booktubers are doing it month by month. They pick their like 1 or 2 favorites. I have one favorite for each month. Except for January, I have 2, and okay, so I have between 1 and 3 favorites for each month, just because I couldn't pick anything else. So these are going to be the contenders for the best books of 2021 at the end of the year, as far as what I've read thus far. So we're going to go through each month. I've had a really good reading year. I've had 40 5-star ratings, and I think as of time of filming this, I think I've read 170 books, but I'm going to double check that right now. 171 books at the time of filming. So when this gets posted, it might be a few more than that, but at this current time, these are my favorites. It's the end of July, so I'm not going to pick any books for August, as this should be up on the 8th of August anyway, so let's get into it. So for January, I read 5 stars, and at first it was really hard for me to pick between those, but then I was thinking about it, and there's one book that month that completely changed everything for me in January. Like, this is definitely my top book of January. But I was thinking about the other 5 stars that I gave, and there was one book that is almost on the same level. I mean, this one's still way better, like miles better, but this one gave me the same emotion, and it just, the first favorite in the number 2 spot for January is I Killed Zoe Sopranos by Kit Frick. So I honestly I picked this up on a whim at the Barnes & Noble because they were having buy one, get one free, or buy one, get one half off. And I remembered hearing one of my friends talking about it, so I was just like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And then I read it because Michael and Amanda were pressuring me. Thank you guys. I loved everything about this book. It's a YA thriller. It's a thriller that follows this girl named Anna, who starts off by confessing that she killed Zoe Sopranos. And then it starts this story of Anna coming to this small town where Zoe Sopranos went missing. And everyone thinks that they look a lot alike, and it's this mystery of what the heck happened to Zoe Sopranos, and how the heck did we get to Anna confessing to murdering her. and it's a fun thrill ride. There were a couple of twists in here that I was just like, holy no, I did not see that coming at all, which I love in my thrillers. There is a podcast element, which I have found that I almost always enjoy in thrillers. It kind of reads like a true crime podcast. If this one does not end up in my favorites of the year, then then something is wrong with the world. I grabbed The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab kind of on a whim. This was also because Amanda recommended it, and I was doing this scavenger hunt reading style vlog. I'll link it up here. You can go check it out. But I went into this thinking that I was going to hate it. It is very, very slow. And that part, it's historical fiction, which is not typically my jam. It's a very, very slow burn, character driven, and despite all that, I loved it. The ending. So, if you don't know what Addie LaRue is about, it's about this girl named Addie LaRue who makes a deal to live forever. What she doesn't know is that after she walks away from people, they're immediately going to forget about her. So it's like this epic, lonely existence, and it really makes you question your humanity. And then someone finally remembers her when she goes into a bookstore, and love ensues, and the ending, oh my god, V.E. Schwab is queen just based on this book. I have tried to read another book, but I couldn't get into it, and then I have a couple more of her books on my TBR, but oh my god, this might definitely be a favorite of all time. Now we are jumping into February. So when I was gathering my books for this video, I realized most of my favorites are because of Amanda. So thank you so much, Amanda, for pressuring me to read some of these books, or for sending me copies, or, you know, recommending them. So maybe I should trust Amanda more. Okay, so the first book on this list I actually don't own for February because I listened to it on audiobook. Man, do I want to copy myself, so maybe someday I'll own it. But that is the first Christina Lauren book that I ever read, which is Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. I went into it kind of thinking that I wasn't going to like it. It was my first adult romance as well. That's not true. I have read a couple of adult romances, but I never really got hooked until Josh and Hazel. So you follow Hazel, who is a kindergarten teacher, my kind of girl, and Josh, who is, they are friends from college, and they're kind of reconnecting as friends, and they're both setting each other up on blind dates. But each time they meet someone new, things don't go well for them. So they end up just going home, and through these blind dates, maybe they fall in love, and it's kind of like friends to lovers. Not really fake dating. It's not fake dating, in fact. But it's friends to lovers. It's slow burn, and they are just the cutest friendship I've ever read. The cutest, like, love, and I just enjoyed every second of it. I thought it was kind of snarky and just, it is probably my favorite, one of my favorite romances of all time. And then the other book, we're kind of shifting gears for February. I read this mystery thriller. I think it's more of a mystery, but there are thriller aspects to it, and that is The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. So I've read every single Riley Sager book, which I don't read a ton from the same authors, but this is by far my most favorite author ever. This is yet another one that Amanda sent me. We read it in February together. I read it a little bit faster than her, and then, like, when she got to it a couple days later, she was texting me and she's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and I'm like, what? Okay. So I picked it up and I read it a second time, almost back to back, within the same week. And that's why it's on this list. In this book, you follow this woman named Emma, who goes to summer camp when she is 13? I don't remember. But she goes to summer camp, and 3 of her best friends in the cabin go missing, and she's invited back 10 years later to kind of do a reopening / grand finale of the camp. It's going to be the last year it's open, and she decides to go investigate what happened to her friends 10 years before that. And then creepy things start happening while she's there, and it's maybe repeating history, and Riley Sager did it again. This is probably my second favorite Riley Sager of all time, but it's got some great summertime camping vibes, and it's got an interesting ending. I saw it coming, but I do read a lot of thrillers, so I saw part of it coming, but I still think it's so much fun. So if you just want like a fun mystery thriller, pick this up. Honestly, pick anything by Riley Sager up. In March, I only have one favorite, like nothing even came close in the month of March. I'm like 90% sure that Michael sent this to me, because well, it was on my wish list for 1, but for 2 she had a copy and she's like, oh, I read it, I don't need it. So she sent it to me, and this is another one of my favorite authors. This is Natalie B. Richards. This is 5 Total Strangers. You follow this girl named Mira who is snowed in at the airport, so the flights are not leaving to go home. And she's in high school, I believe. I think she's a senior in high school. And she goes to the car rental agency to get a car, and she runs into someone that she was sitting next to on the plane. So they're just like, okay, yeah, we'll split it and whatever. So they were gonna drive 6 hours instead of taking the plane or like waiting for the planes to take off. And she goes into the rental car and they take off, and creepy stuff starts happening. And in this car, you realize that the 5 people in this car don't really know each other. They all met on the airplane or at the airport. And it's like an isolated mystery during a snowstorm. This one is a intense thriller. It's very fast paced and atmospheric, because even when there's not something creepy going on, you can get the creepy vibes from the writing, and you're just like sitting in the car on this road trip with 5 strangers who you don't know if you can trust. Heck, I didn't even know if I could trust the main character. And it was just wonderful. You're gonna think that everyone is guilty of something, and maybe you're right, or maybe you're wrong. But this was by far my favorite read in March. So, in April, I could not pick between my 3. This is the only month that has 3 books, and it's kind of cool because April is my birthday month, and 2 of these were actually birthday presents from my friend, and one of them was just something that I bought myself. But I seriously could not pick between these 3. I think I am going to go in order of how much I liked them, from like least favorite to most favorite. But all 3 of these are 5 stars. I recommend them all, even though they're in this order. So, coming in at 3rd place, this was from Amanda. So thank you, Amanda. This is Pretty Little Wife by Darby Kane. It's a book of the month book. Oh yeah, book of the month. And I had no expectations going into this book. I usually like thrillers because they're just a quick, fun read, and like I have a fun time guessing who is guilty or what is true, and you know, they're just fun to read. Usually, yeah, thrillers are my most read by far genre, but usually I only give them like 3 or 4 stars, and it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna read it once and, you know, Herbie and haul it, or not really think about it again because it didn't stay with me. Pretty Little Wife stays with you. Like, I cannot go into how, because spoilers, but all you need to know going into this is that you follow Lila. I think her name is Lila. Who is the last person to see her husband's dead body, but when she goes back to investigate, his body isn't there anymore, and then she starts getting creepy, threatening messages. That's all you have to know. It's a wild, wild ride, and I didn't know who to believe or what to trust, and that is the best part of reading thrillers, is that it's so unreliable. I usually take my time with thrillers, but this one had me from page 1. It just hooked me like no other thriller has. I read this in one sitting. So you kind of get flashbacks. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you anything else. It's just amazing. So please, if you want a fast-paced, fun thrill ride where you can't trust anything that the MC says, that the main character says, or any of the side characters, and you have no idea what's going to happen, and your mind is going to be freaking blown, pick this up. And then continuing with April, we are kind of steering away from thrillers, and we're going into romance. I had 2 favorite romances in April that I read. One I actually read twice in April, and I'm actually rereading it a 3rd time in the same year, which I do not reread very often at all. But I definitely don't reread books that I've read this year. That's just crazy to me. So, the first one, I've only read once. But I really enjoyed it. And that is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hong. I loved this book. This book will always have a special place in my heart because you follow Stella Lane, who has Asperger's. And she is a very successful person in her career. But she is not... in her words, she doesn't know how to date. She doesn't know how to be a good girlfriend. So she hires this escort to give her dating lessons. And so it's like fake dating, which is, I have found out, is my favorite trope in the romance realm. It's my favorite trope ever. But Stella is so quirky and kind of weird and lovable. I just adore her. Like, I want her to be my best friend. And it's really awesome because Helen actually has Asperger's. So it's great representation. And I know that Asperger's is so many different levels that you can't say everyone with Asperger's is going to be like this, because every single case of Asperger's is completely different. But this was it was just a quirky story. The characters were well thought out, very awkward, and it was believable because there's some smutty scenes in here, okay? It's not like... There's some smut in here. But during the smutty scenes, it's not just like... boom, 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 boom. Like, you know, and then they're done. It was like awkward and realistic. And I love this book. And then my first favorite book of April is yet another fake dating story by Christina Lauren. This is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This one is like the perfect romance. This one is probably my #1 Christina Lauren book. I am new to the romance genre, though. I haven't read a whole lot, but thus far, this is my favorite. And yet another gift from Amanda for my birthday. She sent me 3 books, I think, in the month of April for my birthday, and 2 of them made it on my best of so far. Anyways, this follows this follows Olive and Ethan. So Olive's twin sister, Amy, is lucky, and she wins all this stuff. So she planned a wedding with 200 guests and all-you-can-eat seafood buffet, and she planned this honeymoon that pretty much all of it was paid for. She won most of it. So she won this honeymoon to Hawaii with her and her hubby. Unfortunately, every person in the wedding got sick except for Olive, who doesn't like shellfish, and Ethan, who's allergic to shellfish. So they all get food poisoning. And Amy gets Olive to take her trip to Hawaii. She's like, oh, of course, Hawaii seems cool. And they're twins, so, you know, no one's gonna know. What she doesn't know is that Amy's husband gave his part of the trip to his best man, Ethan. And Ethan and Olive are mortal enemies. They hate each other so much. So they go on this trip to Hawaii, and they have to be fake married for this honeymoon, or else her and her sister are gonna have to pay for this honeymoon because it was like non-refundable. So they go on this fake honeymoon to Hawaii, where this love ensues, maybe. But the chemistry is so good, the banter, and like, oh, everything about it was just so good. So if you just want a fun summertime read, or just a fun read to get you out of a slump, The Unhoneymooners. Now, the last 3 months that we are going to do, I only have one favorite from each month. So my favorite book from May was Here and Gone by Halen Beck. I thought this would be my favorite book of the year, but I'm not, or my favorite thriller of the year, but I don't know. It's really good. So you follow this woman named Audra, who is running away from her abusive husband, and she has her kids in the back seat of her car when she makes it to Arizona, and this cop stops her and says that she has too much weight in the back of her car, so it's kind of like pushing it to the ground. And she's like, oh, well, I'm going to stay at the B&B up the road. If you want, you can follow me. And, you know, she's being very nice. And then she gets arrested. And then you follow Audra at the jail. And she has a story about how she had her kids with her. And she wants to know what happened to her kids. But the cop said that the only thing that was in her back seat were empty car seats. But the kids weren't there. So between the two differing stories, you have to pull out what is true and who is truthful. So do you believe the cop that there were no kids in her car, or do you believe Audra? And I have to tell you that reading this was like a nightmare for me, because I want to be a mom more than anything in this world. And like, I tell my husband all the time that I would give up everything. Like, I would give up my channel. I would easily stop going to school and not become a teacher, because that's another one of my dreams. But I don't know how giving up all my dreams except for having a kid, you know, like how that would work out to me having a kid, but it's illogical. It doesn't work out. But anyways, my point is, I want to be a mom more than anything in this world. Like, that passion, that drive, you know, maybe someday. But this, I don't know if the mom is trustworthy, or, okay, so your options are the mom is trustworthy and the cop is a dirty, lying pig of a cop, or the cop is trustworthy and the mom of these children is a dirty, lying pig of a mother. And you wonder if she hurt her kids, or if she, God forbid, killed them between Pennsylvania and Arizona. That's a lot of ground to cover. You follow Audra as she's stuck in jail, and you're getting these two differing sides of what really happened to her kids. And when it all comes together, it is freaking amazing. It's like got my heart pounding, and it scared me. This book gave me nightmares, but like I said, it's probably the passion, the drive in me to want to be a mother. Okay, I could not even think how someone could do that to children. Children are involved in this, and this one made me terrified. This one gave me nightmares. This one made me mad. This got my heart pumping, gave me goosebumps, and oh my gosh. So for June, I only have one book. It's a graphic novel. What? So it's Sheets by Veda. I actually just sent my friends' kids all my middle grade graphic novels, but somehow this one didn't make it in there because it was so good that I could definitely see myself rereading it. First off, look at this art style. It's very blue and pastel, which is awesome. But you follow this girl who lost her mother, and her family's business is going under. Her dad owns a laundromat, but it's not doing so well. And then this ghost who comes to her as a sheet kind of helps her get her business in order so that she can focus on being a kid. It's just super duper cute. Okay, and then July's favorite book is my favorite book of the year thus far. Honestly, I thought nothing would kick Addie LaRue out of first place. It took 6 more months, but I found something as good, if not better, than Addie LaRue. To me, I think this one was a little bit better, but Addie LaRue made me just like bawl. This is The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. Okay. This is about these sorority sisters who are also witches. So it's kind of like a coven that fronts as a sorority. I mean, they do sorority stuff too, so maybe it's kind of both. But this is about this group of sisters who are also witches and practice Wicca and do some really fun magic stuff. So it's very, very contemporary. It's based in our world on a college campus. And they are just magical sisters, which I have found out this year that I like contemporaries that have magical elements like this. And Addie LaRue, I mean, it's kind of fantasy, but it's kind of contemporary because it happens in our world. It's not like a new world. So I think that they're kind of, you know, they're similar in that way. But this was so good. So you follow, the first part is like the pledges that are trying to get into this sorority. And then the second part is after some of them have made it to the sorority. Now it's kind of what happens. There's a murder mystery on the campus, and if you guess the ending, then you are smarter than me, because I thought the ending was brilliant, but I also did not see that ending coming for 1,000 miles. Like, I was completely wrong. I loved every second of this, and there's supposed to be a second one coming out next year, and that is probably my most anticipated book of 2022 so far. But this, oh my god, I read it in July. It was the first book I read in July. Nothing has beat it this entire year. So please, if you only read one of these books, sorry, guys. I'm sorry. If you only read one of these, please read The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. But those are my favorites of the year so far. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a single day of Veda or anything after that. I will see you guys later.